To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, folks in the town of Highlands. Public comment? Any public comment on agenda items, please? Got anything?
I haven't seen the agenda, but I have announcements.
Are you in a hurry to leave? Then we'll get you later on then. Okay. I have the minutes of the March 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. I have the minutes of the March 29th special meeting at the town hall.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you. Okay, are you going to talk about your townwide community cleanup?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, then I won't read this little email you sent me.
Okay.
And you can tell everybody about it and what's going on. All right, I'll hold that up there. Our last driver, I think that we hired, Ernest Aristil, resigned as a driver for the dial-a-bus. Do I have a motion to accept his resignation?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Also, Colleen let us know that, where's that letter at? That dial-a-bus will not be running a service from April the 29th to May the 8th. There's no driver. She's tried everything, reached out to fellow dial-a-bus colleagues in the county and what have you. She is still working on it, but at this point in time, that she does not have a driver. I have a letter from a citizen in Highland Falls. I won't mention his name, and the letter is to me and the Chief Operating Officer of the Cornerstone Family Health Care. And it's a nice letter, and it's nice to hear from. I wanted to express to both of you how thankful my wife and I were to have received our COVID-19 vaccinations yesterday at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. From start, beginning with an unexpected mass broadcast of text notification from the town to the vaccine's availability, to finish, the sign-up and vaccination process was easy, very efficient. Cornerstone staff members were friendly and competent throughout. Many thanks to the town of Highlands and the Cornerstone Family Healthcare for making this event a possibility for our community. That's very nice, and I know there's a lot more people from town that have mentioned to me personally how they appreciate the different pop-up clinics that we've had in town. It's been a great success. I know we've probably hit maybe, what, 400 or 500 now, Ty?
I think we were around 400, something
Yeah.
around there.
That's very good. I have an email from Olga, the steering committee. You want to talk about that later, too? Mm-hmm. Okay. Financial reports. I transferred into the paying account $107,863 to cover the check run that was dated on April the 8th. The larger items were Global Monticello Group for $2,070 for sanitation diesel, Lexipol LLC for $3,871 for the police for a one-year software subscription, Highland Falls Library $62,803 for the town second quarter contribution. O&R, $2,567 for streetlights. Orange and Rockland, $4,036 for multiple departments, electrical supply and delivery. Ryder, Wiener, and Frankel, $10,497 for legal fees. And the state controller, $3,919 for court collected fines and fees. Board liaison reports. Richie, we'll start with you.
Down yonder way? Okay. So, good evening, everybody. I'll begin with the Zoning Board of Appeals. They meet on the third Wednesday of every month. I spoke with their chairman at 4 o'clock today. I believe today is the last day for submissions for anything to be on their agenda for this month, so they will not be meeting for this month. I don't think they would have met this Wednesday. It would have been a week because the month started on Thursday, but they won't be meeting this month. With the building department, fire inspections, I would like to thank Phil, Lankin Tully's John O'Rourke, his inspector Andrew, and a special thanks to Jessica Walker down the building department for expediting this feat, which has been greatly accentuated by the terrible disaster in Spring Valley and the death of volunteer firefighter Jared Lloyd. So here's the email I got in the progress of that, the inspections. 5 inspections have passed. 1 waiting for an owner to contact the tenants for the first inspection. 3 cannot be reached. They're having a hard time finding the owner, so they're doing their due diligence there. 9 of them need a second visit due to fire extinguishers deficiencies and other deficiencies. Next meeting, I'll read off the criteria of what qualifies a property to require a fire inspection. I don't have that this evening, but I'll read that off next meeting. So those inspections are well underway. Water districts 1 and 2, you all probably got my rather lengthy email about the water main break last week, and which brings up the subject that I think we spoke about a few times. They had to shut down the lines feeding Fort Montgomery, and being that we don't have a tank built, which was apportioned for many years ago, it wasn't a dire emergency. They got it fixed fairly fast, but say if it was going to be out for 3 or 4 days, that's the reason I brushed the dust off all those agreements and situations from the early 2000s, and I emailed them to you. I think everybody has a pretty good understanding of what's going on up there. I checked into the Water District 1 and 2 budgets. Jim, last meeting, was fortunate enough where we were able to have some fund balance in the ambulance corps to pay for some things. Due to history that I'm not totally familiar with, the water fund has a negative fund balance. So we have to be very careful not to take too much out of the budget. But there is approximately $45,000 for water meters to be put in. Pat doesn't have enough personnel to keep on top of them. So I am suggesting, I think it's going to be about $2,500. I don't think it needs board approval, that we survey our holdings up there. It's all being encroached upon. And if we're going to build a tank someday, we're either going to build it or we're not, but we have to at least define our property because it's being encroached.
In the maps that you sent out, I couldn't see the small shed or building that you mentioned was encroaching on the property.
If you looked at the one picture, it was along the property, it's just a small shed, but there's a 20-foot wide easement for the future pipe, and it's only been like 10 years since that whole project evolved. And even the fence line around our water tank is nowhere near the proper property line. So if we would actually build a tank right now, and I don't want people to have a heart attack, but if they bought property up there, they should know there's going to be a tank there at some point in the future. We'd have to do some enforcement on encroachment right now in order to make that happen. So I really think we need to have it surveyed. I think Lankin Tully can perform that service, and I'm guesstimating $2,500. I don't think it'll be that much, but I think we need to do it. With the Community Environmental Advisory Committee, we met last Friday. It was a very nice meeting. We're still meeting remotely. Hopefully next month we don't have to do that anymore, Olga. Along with discussions about stretch energy code, charging stations, the CCA administration and steering committee, or did we want to call ourselves the CCA subcommittee? I'm not really sure. I'll let you speak to that in depth later on, Olga, because I'll just mess up. So I'll let you speak to what we're doing to initiate that process. And in the sewer district, tonight I sent out some pictures of progress being made down there. I think I was there Saturday. I spent a couple hours with the one operator, Robert Runge, down there. Thank you for making that meeting I couldn't make last week. And in regard to the report about it, you're probably more in tune than I am. There was some rather not so pleasant emails go back and forth between the contractor and the engineer over some possible delays and whatnot. I know the COVID thing is affecting some things. I think it's pretty solid that it won't be operational by May 1st, that we know.
Yeah.
And I'll let you speak to the rest, because I'm not as well versed on the whole EFC short-term, long-term funding thing as you are on that. And just, you know, I know it's unpopular, before the end of the year, or even long before then, that plant is 85% full, and there's projects approved in the sewer district, and that would probably put her up over the top. We're gonna have a discussion about what we're gonna do, like it or not. And in preparation for that, the last year's worth of DMRs with the flows, I'm in the process of getting all those. I'll send them to Justin, so I can do this without getting us in trouble for providing inaccurate information. But the plant is just about full, and that's a fact. And that's my report.
Okay. Justin, maybe on the tail end of his report, the long-term financing, I've been sending the emails that I got from
Sure, from EFC.
EFC.
Yeah, so there was a schedule worked out between the contractor and the engineer that has been approved by the EFC, and they do not believe that should impact your long-term financing, right? They will, if they need to, they will bump that out a month or two
Okay, good.
before they put you in the pool.
Yeah, that was important, that they.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was, the timing was becoming critical, but the EFC seems to have agreed with the proposed scheduling.
Excellent, good, okay. Councilman King?
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Very few notes for me this evening, but I'd like to talk about the disaster preparedness, which COVID-19 vaccines fall under. You've already touched on it, but specifically, we had about 3 iterations of vaccines with, Aaron leading the charge. 2 of those, at least, were in partnership with Walgreens, and so that's where I'm estimating about 300 people were done. And then this last one was Cornerstone, who was as a result of me reaching out to Senator Scoofa's office, and they got us connected. So that was 125 vaccines on last Wednesday. So, and both of those groups are intending to do more. So good news story there. So just keep on the lookout, folks. We definitely are going to keep pressing forward with the vaccines. The police department, I'm happy to report that we would like the permission, we're ready to ask the permission of the board to go full forward with our internship program. We have a James I. O'Neill High School student who's volunteered and would like to get some community service credits. So the plan is for that student to come down and work a few hours in the afternoon after school, but be partnered up with Fran, the admin officer. And so every time she's on shift, she can work with Fran. Now, nothing confidential in that nature, just more administrative in nature, and then learning about what the police do. That along with the fact that next Monday we'll start the Facebook and Instagram pages for our police force. Those 2 things are part of the police reforms that we've talked about, and so police reforms are now in full effect. So, board, did anybody see any problems with the intern?
No?
So I'll tell Chief to go forward. I think it's a good news story. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Parry?
Not much, Bob. I just point out, like I have before, I continue to be amazed by the good work of our municipal employees in maintaining the services that are necessary for our community. There's a lot going on, a lot of good things, and I just want to say thank you to all of them. That's all.
Councilman Jim?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Sort of leveraging what Ty was saying about the vaccines, there's increasingly, the good news is, a lot of people are getting the news about that and a lot of word of mouth. What I've been telling folks is to either give Aaron a call at Village Hall for when the next schedule is, or to be looking at the town Facebook page. So again, that's just a tremendously good thing that's happening, and I think Aaron's wanting to do this as much as he possibly can. So I just wanted to put that out. In terms of liaison reports, met with the ambulance corps, their monthly meeting last week, and again, we have that striker equipment that has been placed on order. We did approve that at our last meeting. The Lucas machine, just so you all know, the community knows, the Lucas machine is supposed to be coming in, we're hoping before the end of this month. And of course, that's the chest compression machine, the automatic chest compression machine. The AED, that is part of that also, that will be coming in sometime during the month of May. The power load and stretcher system, that's going to be more in the late June, early July timeframe. And then the last piece of equipment, the stair chair, is going to be more the mid-July, late July, early August timeframe. So there's the manufacturing and all the other type of stuff that's happening there. This is information that we're getting from them. But everyone's excited about that. And, again, that's just sort of a necessary thing. So it's a very, very good thing. And Ambulance Corps is very happy about that also. Attended the village board meeting last Monday at about this time. That was their reorganization meeting for the year. Just a couple of things, that trustee Brian Aylward was named the deputy mayor for Highland Falls. He's also the police commissioner. And there's a few new positions that I think they're talking about developing going forward. One was announced, a program director, that Merv Lucy is going to be involved with that. And my thinking is, and talking with him a little bit about that, there's obviously going to be some connections between Merv and what Aaron's doing for the town, stuff like that. So more to follow with that. They're definitely in the process of finalizing their budget. I believe they need to have the budget ready to go and approved by the 1st of May. So we're going to be hearing and seeing some things throughout the next few days and weeks from the village in terms of their new budget coming up. Chamber of Commerce had their monthly meeting. Both Ty and I were on, it was a Zoom call for that. They had a individual by the name of Chris Thesine, who runs the Small Business Development Center. That is part of the Small Business Administration, federal agency. They have an office in Rockland. I think it's SUNY Rockland, I believe, is where their office is. But Chamber of Commerce, if anyone is interested in that service, it's a free service to businesses or anyone who wants to start a business in terms of business planning, training, marketing, how to market, how to get access to capital, a lot of different things. Again, connected to the Small Business Administration, free of charge. And if anyone is interested in finding out more about that, just contact the Chamber of Commerce at tohchamber@gmail.com. And then the final thing I have is Bob and I were on a call last week. You've heard us talk a little bit about this initiative that the Department of Defense is doing. West Point's involved in it as a federal entity, and it's the Military Installation Resiliency Study. The electric power transmission piece is continuing to go forward. There's a part 2 now that they are looking at that has to do with natural gas resiliency. And the call that we were on was specifically to talk to the town of Highlands, village of Highland Falls, about what our needs are and our interest in being involved in that. And he basically said we are very interested in being involved in that. So more to follow with this. Again, this is an Orange County activity. The funding is coming from the federal government, and it's looking at military installation resiliency, West Point being the one in our local area, and surrounding community. So we're being pulled into that net. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Talking about the meeting we have, I think I was enlightened, and more so Jim, on the natural gas. I just take infrastructure, utilities, and what have you, it is what it is. Jim was surprised to find out that there is no natural gas in Fort Montgomery. I was surprised to find out that there is no natural gas south of West Point Motel. And that includes all the, off to the left, all the Ondiora Park and all of those don't have it. So we really need Con Ed to take a hard look at at least the village and expand what they have into the village. Getting over the mountain into Fort Montgomery, I'm sure that's a big problem. But I was very surprised to find out that. So I'd say the town of Highlands, including the village, is probably got about 1/4 of the town has natural gas. Surprising, right? Wasn't it?
I was certainly surprised. And of course, we're looking at it not only from a resident convenience for those that want natural gas perspective, but also in terms of what does this do and what does this offer in terms of continuing economic development, bringing in new businesses, bringing in new residents, those kinds of things too. So a lot of potential to get some benefit from both of these studies. Could I mention
Sure.
one more thing?
Go ahead. Yep.
One more thing that may be part of this is just the whole communications infrastructure also. And this is not part of the study right now, but it is something that there seems to be some definite interest with this. So we'll keep our eyes and ears close to that one also.
Now, as Councilman Sullivan mentioned, I was at a meeting, was it last week?
I think it was last Thursday.
Yeah, and there's another one coming up this Thursday, by the way.
I'm gonna go to that one.
Okay. Pat, our highway superintendent and liaison to just about everything else within the DPW, he was down there with me. And he amazed me at how much he knows about what's going on down there, what needs to be done, what should be done, and what's not being done. He really amazed me. He told these guys, look, I can't fit a container in there. It's 2 foot short. You've got to rebuild it, and they've got to knock out about a 2 foot by 12 foot wall. That's a cement wall. They've got to knock that out to make more room. What surprises me down there are things that are not involved in a contract. We've been hurt, as far as I'm concerned, by our engineer and things that should have been seen in the contract. Hauling of sludge away. It costs us $2,000 and $3,000 every couple of weeks to haul sludge away. That should have been in the contract. That should have been part of the loan. The generator that's on the outside of the building, on a very high block of cement, it's got to be, 3 foot high maybe, the block of, they've got to put doors on there, to flood doors, floodgates, so it doesn't flood this thing. The water doesn't come up 3 foot down there. I mean, I can't imagine, even during Sandy, I mean, it got wet. It got maybe a couple of inches of water. The panels, basically all of the panels have to be raised. But on the building, what do they call that building?
That's the grit chamber
The
building.
grid chamber building, that wasn't included. So they wanted another $3,800 to do that. And it's not in the cards right now, it just isn't. Things like that, I don't know how he missed. I mean, it was just a lot of blunders in that contract, and I almost hate to see the walkthrough when we get done to see what's gonna go on there, what they call the punch list.
Just real quick, Bob, I don't want people to think that like we're inept or anything. I like to talk a lot, so you have to bear with me. 35 years ago, under the Reagan administration, the Clean Water Act delivered money across the country for people to build things like this. I think we got 80% funding, and I think you were the supervisor 2 years after it was opened up when it was brand new. Well, now it's not brand new anymore. And anybody would know that when you have residences built out, I think for every dollar you get in income from residents, it probably costs $1.25 to have them, as opposed to commercial properties. So here we are 35 years later, the thing rusted apart, and so everybody knows what we're doing down there is basically putting the rusted parts back together new, not increasing the capacity of the plant. And the belt press is designed to dry the sludge so that you export less of it, but during the construction process, there's nowhere to dry the sludge. That building was knocked down first thing, so you have to remove the liquid sludge at great expense during the process with tractor trailers. That's where that money was going to. So it's unfortunate, here we are all these years later, and you only have 385 parcels in the sewer district paying for it. And since I've been on the board, I think that district, we've gone from, I think we've increased it 6 or 7%, and I gotta tell you, it probably should have been 30% because there's parts of it that were in bad shape. We've inspected lines, we've done some repairs for the infiltration. That special district is not subject to the tax cap, in case nobody knows that. So I don't think those people can take any more of a hit down there for increasing. Last year during budget season, we made some cuts to the district. So the whole engineering thing started, I think, back in 2014, and there was a grant married to it. So anybody thinking you can fire the engineer, you can't. They have copyrights on their plans, they're married to the grant, you have to go with it. The amount of the grant was equal to the estimate mistake on what the bid was. So the grant basically just paid $600,000 for a bad estimate. It was that much over it. So you almost have no heart, but we have to see it through to the end. So I just want people to know that that's how this whole thing evolved.
Between myself, our Lankin Tully inspector, and Councilman Sullivan, we're down there almost daily. I'll admit that I don't know what they're doing all the time. Sometimes I do. Pat caught something where there's this thing called a belt press. It's got this belt that goes on out and then drops the dried sludge into a container. Well, dried sludge into a container, but there's no roof where the container is. So Pat says, how can you put dry sludge out there and let it sit out in the rain? You just can't do that. It doesn't make any sense. So now we got a roof on it anyway. But there's just things like that that, thank God for Councilman Sullivan, because he knows a hell of a lot more than I know that much. He knows a whole handful.
You do okay.
I'm learning. Okay, that's that one. CCA Steering Committee, would you like to come up and tell us? Olga has some, I'm going to call them suggestions, right, for members of the committee?
Right.
Because what I'd like to see, once the village firms up that they're with us, then we can put a committee together with the village and us.
Right.
But I'm very happy with the people you have.
I've just inquired with some residents, both in Highland Falls and Fort Montgomery, of their interest in participating, and so the names that I've submitted reflect that. And we are owed a recommendation from the mayor, somebody he would like to suggest for that committee. So that's the only thing we're waiting for. Plus, it's at the next village board meeting, they should have the local law up for a public comment and for final vote. So as of next Monday, we'll be hopefully ready to go with getting the committee finalized and getting started on the first step in their process, which is to select an administrator that's going to be essentially the manager of the project. So that's how that's going to happen.
The names of your committee are your recommendations. Well, Richard Sullivan will get our recommendation. Then there's a Jane Oswald, who's a Fort Montgomery resident, who's the daughter of the late Henry Silvestri. Lisa Young, Highland Falls resident. She's a professor at West Point. And there'll be a nominee from Mayor Joe.
Yes. And we're suggesting that Mindy Kimball be the chair of that.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I just dropped down that paragraph. Okay.
Well, I just wanted to give a couple of other updates while I'm here. As you may be aware, our committee has been working on for the second year on a benchmarking project where we're looking at the utility bills that the town has for its properties. We did this report last year, kind of gives you a carbon footprint for the town. We're doing it, and that will be completed. It's being done by a cadet from West Point under Mindy's guidance. And this is part of his requirement for a project. And he, among all of the other cadets that are doing projects, will be presenting over Zoom on the 29th of April. And that meeting is open if anybody would like to attend. His presentation will be at 1:20 p.m., and I'll be happy to send the Zoom link to the board in case anybody wants to go. If anybody else wants to attend that, they can contact me through our Facebook page.
Yeah, please send that link. Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, and as part of that, the newest version of the Clean Energy Communities program out of NYSERDA gives us additional points for completing that action if we put those data up on a website. So I'm hoping that we can get a piece of the Town of Highlands website that we can upload this data, and it's good for an extra 100 or 200 points in terms of qualifying for grants.
Yeah.
So we've got it, we might as well publicize it. You mentioned electric vehicles. Again, in this new iteration of Clean Energy Communities, NYSERDA has really stepped up, and it's covering a lot more of the costs for installing electric vehicle charging stations. So I've been working on a proposal for a town-supported station down in Fort Montgomery. I'm almost ready to send that out, not quite ready to do that. But I've been working with a gentleman who represents a number of different companies that sell charging stations. And I've convinced him to actually speak at the next chamber meeting so that all of the businesses here in the town and the village will be able to learn about the incentives that are available to them. Literally, they could have the full cost of a charging station rebated by NYSERDA. So there's just like, for restaurants and particularly hotels, it's really a wonderful time to pursue this. And now NYSERDA is even rebating up to 90% of installation costs, which is also new. So, for very little cost, businesses that want to bring in travelers, tourists, can have at least one charging station at their business site. Let's see. Okay, so the cleanup. So our committee is sponsoring an Earth Day community-wide cleanup. We're encouraging residents throughout the town and the village to kind of own their block or blocks around them, kind of form teams to go out and clean up all the debris that's gotten left behind after the snow melted. We would love to see the businesses do that out in front of their storefronts. I've asked the board for approval to engage with the DPW and even Town Rec to help get the word out some more. And should we come up with some large debris that would need to be picked up, that it'd be okay if we contact DPW to help us to do that. It's probably just going to be, bottles and masks and paper and stuff like that. But just should we find tires or things like that, I'd like to have permission to work with Pat's.
On the town side, DPW, that's fine. We'll take care of you.
All right, awesome. Okay, so that's it.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
On that cleanup day,
Yes.
I have chosen to do Garrison Pond I'm gonna go down to Doris Lunt's house and pick her up. Anyone wants to come for a ride in my rowboat, you're welcome to come help me get garbage.
I have a resolution to authorize the execution of an agreement between the town of Highlands and the Orange County for Stop DWI Program Services. This is nothing different than we've had throughout the years. Justin, anything to say on it?
No, you've been passing this resolution year after year after year, but the county refunds the program, or funds the program each calendar year, so they require a resolution of the board to enter into the agreement.
And Leslie, I have some paperwork on that that's got to be probably sent back to the chief, and then he'll take care of it from there. So I'll give that to you tomorrow morning. We talked about sewer plant.
Oop, but someone needs to make the motion and
Oh,
second.
that would be nice if I did it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Parrot,
Aye.
Councilmember Margaret,
Aye.
Supervisor Lipsy.
Aye. Is there any other business? Anything else? Okay. Public comment? Any public comment?
Have you voted on anything?
Have we voted on?
Have you signed any more contracts?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal matters.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. We will not be returning after the